Hey guys, this is a tutorial on CodeIgniter. From my perspective, I'm a bit of an amateur programmer. I have taught myself everything I know, which probably isn't very much, but hopefully it's a little bit more than you because you're looking at this tutorial, and hopefully I can help you out. So basically I'm going to show you how I get started when I start a new CodeIgniter application or a new application using CodeIgniter. First of all, you need to come to this website, CodeIgniter.com, and download the source code. And what I would recommend you do is watch this tutorial in here by Derek Jones. He's much better spoken than I am, and he probably wrote CodeIgniter, so he knows how it works a lot more than I do. It's a pretty good tutorial, it's a very good introduction, and I kind of am going over some of the same ground, but sort of from my perspective. So watch this tutorial anyway, because it'll give you a good grounding. So you pause mine, go back and watch this one, and it's only 9 minutes, and it's very well done. And then come and have a look at mine. So download the code. This is how I get started. We'll have a look at this user guide in a minute. So what I do is unzip it into a directory in your web server. I have different directories for different web applications that I'm working on. So I've created one called tutorial, and I've unzipped the contents of that zip file that I just showed you on the CodeIgniter site to there. And so you have the system folder, and you have the index.php. And what I'm going to do is show you how I go about setting up everything so I can get started. So as you would have seen in that video by Derek Jones, you have controllers and views, which is where we're going to work, and we have these ones that come automatically when you unzip that file. So these are like samples, and this is what the sample page looks like. What I'm going to show in this tutorial is how I modify those for to name them how I want them to be to get started on my project, and also how I can get rid of this index.php, which he mentioned, which I like to get rid of up front because it creates a lot of problems, or can create a lot of problems later if you get rid of it later. So I like to get rid of it up front so that I can have a nice clean URL like tutorial/welcome instead of needing to have index.php in the tutorial. So again, I'm not going to cover ground that he has, so I apologize if this doesn't make sense, but as I said, if you watch his tutorial it will make sense. So what we're going to do is to get rid of that index.php, you create a .htaccess file in the root directory of your web application, and you get that from this address. This is where I got it from. It works perfectly, and it's written by the guys, the CodeIgniter guys, people involved in the project. So go to this address, codeigniter.com/wiki/mod rewrite, and have a read. It has all the instructions in there as well, but I'm going to show you what basically it says to do. Apart from some stuff you need to do on your actual web server or whatever you're running, your Apache server, you need to activate mod rewrite in there. The only thing you need to change in this file is your rewrite base. So if you, like me, work off multiple different directories under your www directory for different projects you're working on, then you just need to put that in there. When you put it on site, it's going to look something like that basically, because it's like www.sitename.com, and it doesn't run off a subdirectory, but in my case it does. So that's what it looks like. So that's all you do. Shove that in there, and then you need to come into the configuration area under your application folder. And in config, you need to get rid of this index.php, and it tells you that here as well. So get rid of index.php from there, and that's basically it. We should now be able to come in here and use this URL, and it works. So that's the same as that. Okay, so to finish off, as I said, I'm going to show you how I turn these controllers into something that I can start my project with. And my project here is a tutorial, so I want to call my my class tutorial. not welcome. So how I do that is rename them. Pretty simple, obviously. Now, don't forget the class name and this constructor needs to have the capital T, and the file name itself needs to have a lowercase. So I'm going to save that, and here I'm going to, in the controllers area, I'm going to rename that to tutorial lowercase, and I'm going to rename my view down here. I'm going to rename that to view underscore tutorial. I like, for some reason, as I said, I do strange things probably, but I like to call my views view underscore in some cases. In some cases it'll be slightly different, but most cases it's view underscore tutorial. So we're going to open that up. This is just the standard welcome one. But so our tutorial controller at the moment is pointing to view welcome message. We need to change it to view tutorial, so we're going to change that to view tutorial. Okay, now if I come here and I do tutorial to get my tutorial controller, that works, right? Perfect. However, if I don't specify the controller name, it's going to error. Page not found. Now the reason for that is that in the configuration section under routes is your default controller name. Okay, so it's still set to welcome. You need to tell CodeIgniter what your default one is. So if someone comes to your base URL, doesn't specify the controller after it, where is CodeIgniter supposed to send the that HTTP request, and it's supposed to send it to the tutorial controller in our case. So if I come back here and hit refresh, that should now work. Okay, so that's how I get started. The only other thing I do after I've set that up, so I'm going to get rid of this obviously. And the other thing I like to do after that is I set up in the public folder, I put in the jQuery library because I like to use jQuery, and I'll show you how we access that later in one of the next tutorials. And the only other thing I think is, I didn't mention it in the config here, you need to put in your base URL. It comes in very handy, and you use it a fair bit in your views when you're constructing URLs for links and things like that. So in development it's that, and obviously when you move to production, you're going to have to change this before you upload your code to your web server.